Okay, so in this video here, we're going to be talking about how you can simplify I. Now, this is really, really simple, and there's actually a couple of different ways in which you can do it. One way is memorizing a pattern, which I typically don't teach because I feel that if you don't have to memorize something, it's always better not to. So the way that I teach is pretty straightforward. All you have to know is that I is equal to the square root of -1. So for example, we know that I is equal to the square root of -1. And we know that if we square both sides, that means that I squared is equal to -1, okay? So if you can remember that, that's all you have to do, okay? From there, you just have to plug it in. So for example, I have I to the 20th power. Your first step, plug in an I squared. So for example, I'm gonna write I squared in parentheses, okay? And how do I make that 20? Well, I'll have to do 2 times what? Well, it's gonna be 2 times 10. So I'm gonna put a 10 on the outside here. And we know that I squared is really -1. So I can put -1 here to the 10th power. And since my power here is even, it's 10, right? -1 to the 10th power, that's going to give me +1. So my end result here is +1. So I to the 20th power is going to be +1. Right? Pretty straightforward. Let's try the next one. I to the 54th power. Well, again, first step, replace it with an I squared. So I squared. How do I match that 54? 2 times what will give me 54? Well, you're going to have a 27 here, right? So 27. From here, you're going to go ahead and replace the I squared with a -1. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then we have to the 27th power. Now my power here is odd, 27's odd, and my base is negative. So -1 to the 27th power is going to give you a -1, right? So I get -1 here, okay? All right, so here's our next problem. These are going to be a little more challenging, but it's still pretty straightforward. And your first step is still going to be replace the I with an I squared. So for example, I'm still going to write that -3, but then I'll have I squared. And now how do I make that 17? Okay, this one's a little bit different because 2 times any number will not give me 17. So if you ever have a scenario like this, you want to get as close as possible to 17 without going over it. Okay, so for example, I wouldn't want to do 2 times 9 because that's going to give me 18. I'm going to go over it. So I have to get as close as I can to it, but I have to be under it. So in this case here, I'm going to put 8 because 2 times 8 is 16. Okay, so we know that 2 times 8 is 16, but I need to make 17. So to get around that, you just put another I. There it is. I have everything I need now. So now I'm going to rewrite it as -3. My I squared is really -1. To the 8th power, and then I. Well, look, my power here, my exponent, is even. 8 is even. So -1 to the 8th power is a +1, so -3 times 1, and then I. Or in other words, I'm left with -3 I. Done. Okay? Let's try our last problem here. Same deal. We're going to replace the I with an I squared. So I have 2, and then in parentheses, I squared. And now, what number times 2 will give me 39? Well, that number doesn't exist. So we have to get as close as possible to 39 without going over it. So in our case here, we're going to want to use 19. If I do 19, that will give me 38. I'm still missing 1 though. I have to make this 39. So I'm going to go ahead and include one more I right here. And then we're going to have 2 times, replace it with a -1. And then we have 19 and then I. And then I can see my exponent is odd. So -1 to the 19th power is going to return a -1. So 2 times -1 I. And so my end result is going to be -2I. Okay, and that's it. That's done. Okay, so that's how you can simplify expressions involving I to a power. It's pretty straightforward. Again, there is a pattern you can memorize. A lot of students like to do that as well. But honestly, this is the way I teach it because there's no memorization needed. And all you really have to remember is that I squared is equal to -1. If you can remember that, you're good. Okay? So I hope that you found the video helpful. I hope that you gained something from it. If the video did in fact help you, if you could just go ahead and give it a thumbs up, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, make sure you subscribe to this channel so you get more math videos in the future. And I'll see you in the next one.